My father was very ill, and he was sent south for the sun. And my mother was 5 months pregnant with me. So they got to Captiva in May, and the big old hotel on the bay was closed. So someone took them to a Mrs. Bishop's cottage. No longer there, but it was 2 doors from what's now Tween Waters. And she took them in. She said, "I cannot turn away a sick man and a pregnant woman." They went back to Bristol. I was born in September the 25th, 1924. And they went back to Captiva when I was 2 months old, so that's why I'm a relic. Kent Curtis had one of the cottages, and he let Mother and Daddy and little me stay in his cottage, and he stayed on his cruiser that was moored at the Smith Dock. And I was weighed in his fish scales as a baby. That year they bought the little cottage that belonged to the Dickies tutor, and that was the nucleus of Tween Waters. They built a little cottage for my brother and his wife, a little guest house. And the Depression came along, and Daddy lost a lot of money. So Mother said if they come to visit this year, they will have to pay. So that was the start of Tween Waters. Each year, they'd go home. Daddy would make enough money to build another cottage. So it went. Well, Mother loved it. Daddy hated having people in his home. But he took out a guide's license. He had a couple of boats. So he took the guests out fishing. Mother, she kind of catered a little bit. She would have tea parties for the ladies on the island. It just kind of evolved. My father died in '37. And every day, Mr. Darling drew a cartoon and sent it in to Daddy. He was very ill. He signed the guest book every spring with a cartoon. Mother always used green ink in her fountain pen. There's another one. The year the mosquitoes were so bad. Well, I remember one night we had 4 Nobel Peace Prize winners there. One of the men who discovered DNA, Watson, he was there with a friend. We had Marianne Moore, the poet, who was a sweet thing. Of course, everyone talks about the Darlings. They were just wonderful, wonderful friends. Anne Lindbergh didn't stay at Tween Waters, but she used to have dinner there every night. Had the bluest eyes you ever saw. Me with my first tarpon. Weighed about 75 pounds, and I was so proud. And so from then on, I loved tarpon fishing. Well, by that time, Daddy was still alive, so we'd go out in the Sonoma, and he'd take the guests, and I'd go along. Running at night was wonderful. We'd go up to the pass, and I'd get sleepy as I do now. Go down below, crawl in a bunk, and go to sleep with the waves slapping against the boat. Oh God, it was heaven. I love Daddy's boats. Johnny Wakefield. We were married on the 1st of May at Tween Waters. We were engaged for, I think, 3 months. He was with the Air Force. He went overseas a few months later. He went to India and then the South Pacific. He was gone for 2 years. We were going to live in Worcester, Mass, where he came from. And and we decided we'd like to live on Captiva. We built 4 little cottages next to Tween Waters. I spent my honeymoon in Mr. Darling's fish house on Captiva in, well, the middle of the war. I think it was 43. I guess the first night of our honeymoon, they had a chivalry for us. We weren't asleep, but they were all over the Andy's dock getting drunk, because most of them had been at the wedding. They came to the fish house. Of course, then Johnny put the drawbridge down and asked everybody in for a drink. Mother had a beautiful voice. I was just a couple of years old, and she was very ill. Everyone thought she was going to die. And her old family doctor is the one that found that she had a goiter that you couldn't see, so they operated. It did something to her vocal cord, and she could never sing again, which broke her heart. My middle name was Hancock, and I asked a maiden aunt one time, "Are we descended from John Hancock?" She drew herself up with her enormous bosom and said, "Certainly not, we're the Virginia Hancocks." So much for fame. Marie Dickey Coleman and I spent a good deal of time looking for the grave in the backyard of an old lady's house, because we were convinced she had murdered her husband and buried him back there. Oh, we dug all over that island. Marie Dickey Coleman, we were in Davos together, practically. We were the 2 bad little kids on the island. And we'd kick the shells out of her path. We were not very nice. And when Johnny was overseas, I was walking down the path one night, and I passed her house, and I could see her reading by her lamplight in the living room. And for some reason, I knocked on the door and went in to visit her. Don't ask me why, just impulse. And we sat there and had the nicest chat. She was a lovely old lady. She just didn't like us, and we didn't like her. What struck me to go in and see that woman whom I'd hated all my life, I do not know. So we were friends after that. Some impulses are good. Who was it in Hollywood said, if I'd known I was going to live so long, I would have taken better care of myself?